My stepmother tried to force me to give my fiancé to my stepsister, and I refused. On my wedding day, she ripped off my wedding dress and cut off my long hair. My stepsister slashed my face with scissors and pushed me down the stairs. But little did they know, my fiancé was actually a demon. When I woke up, both my stepsister and I were reborn. My stepmother sent away the staff, who were there for my wedding dress fitting. Suddenly, the choker around my neck was tightened, and I instinctively tried to pull back. "Are you gonna give up the marriage or not?" My stepmother's venomous voice sounded from behind me. Gasping for air, I explained in broken sentences, "Aunt, it's not that I don't want to, but even if I did, he won't let our family go." Slap, slap. I felt a burning pain on my face, and I could taste blood in my mouth. My stepsister rubbed her wrist. "You're lying. He obviously likes me. It's just you clinging on to him. You can't stand to see me happy." My stepmother's grip tightened. "You little bitch, it's just a man, and you won't give him to your sister. All these years I've raised you for nothing." She pinned me to the ground and slammed my head into the cold floor repeatedly. "Bitch, are you gonna give up, or not?" Sitting on top of me, my stepmother tore off my wedding dress. She pulled out my long hair and snipped it with scissors. Pain shot through my scalp as the blade cut through hair, and I felt blood trickling down my head. "Mom, let me." My stepsister grabbed the scissors, kicked me a few times, and turned my face upwards. She stomped hard on my chest and leaned down with the scissors in hand. "You used this face to seduce him. Now I'm gonna ruin it." The searing pain on my face made me cry out, and tears fell. They only saw my fiancé's good looks and family background, but they didn't know he was a demon. The first day he transferred to my class, he started secretly bullying me. 4 years, whether I resisted or ran away, he wouldn't let me go. He even threatened my family to force me into marrying him. I didn't even have the right to end my life. Being disfigured was a blessing, as it meant I wouldn't have to suffer anymore. But I didn't expect my stepsister to go insane for that man. She pushed me to the window, forcing my head out. My fear of heights kicked in, causing tremors and panic. "Sis, it's your own fault for falling." The howling wind filled my ears. Fear took over. I heard bones cracking. Oddly, it didn't hurt much. The scent of blood was heavy. Breathing became impossible, and I weakly closed my eyes. When I opened them again, both my stepsister and I were reborn. My stepmother was a mistress of a wealthy businessman, and my stepsister was an illegitimate child. When the rich man suddenly died, my beautiful stepmother sought a new husband while pregnant. My dad, a kind and wealthy man, became the one to marry her. I knew having a good life was out of the question when they stepped into our home, but this time is different. I was reborn with the fire of vengeance. At the sight of my stepsister, I knew she was reborn too. No more panic and awkwardness like the first time. She entered my home. She looked at me with amusement. I hid my emotions and cautiously greeted just like my past life. "Hello, Aunt." "Hey sis." My dad pulled me forward. "Hetty, school's starting, and Julia's transferring to your class. You need to look out for her." I lowered my head and meekly agreed. Julia's eyes darted. "Uncle, can I take your last name? You'll be my real dad then." This wasn't something she did in our past life. My dad rubbed his hands nervously and looked at my stepmom. Julia winked at my stepmom. Though puzzled, my stepmom played along. "Jason, the kid has a connection with you. Grant her wish." My dad, always giving in to my stepmother, agreed on the spot. "Uncle, I really like the name Hetty. Can she give it to me?" My dad hesitated and looked at me. I understood Julia's idea, because this semester a new transfer student would join our class. It would be Justin, my fiancé, who bullied me over the years. He obsessed over me because of my name. "Hetty, I like your name." That name marked the start of my nightmare. This life, Julia wanted that name. I couldn't be more eager to give it away. She only knew Justin came from money and had been obsessed with me for years. But she didn't know that since the day Justin met me, he secretly tormented me. Even after I started working, he wouldn't let me be. He used my dad's life to force me into marriage. To my stepmother, Justin seemed like the perfect son-in-law. Julia yearned for him, even willing to push me out the window on my dress-fitting day. Since she wanted it so badly, I decided to grant her wish. I tugged at my dad's sleeve. "Dad, if sis likes it, let her have it. I'll just use the nickname Mom used to call me." Julia, afraid I'd change my mind, immediately went to get documents to change her name. As we were both 18, the name change was a breeze, and I cooperated fully. My dad consoled me, saying I was always his cherished daughter, and he'd never forget Mom's parting words. But comfort was meaningless. He was too naive and honest, easily swayed by my stepmother, who soon controlled our finances. She put on a great act, leaving my dad thinking she was a blessing, believing both his wives were wonderful women. I could only rely on myself. Since life gave me a second chance, I'd cherish it. This time, I planned to protect myself. When the second semester of high school started, Julia and I had our new names. She's now Hedy. I'm Nora, which is the nickname my mom gave me. Julia's introduction to the class was quite impressive. Too, she specially prepared gifts for the classmates, gaining their support. The homeroom teacher knew Julia was my stepsister, and in the last life had seated her next to me. This time, before the teacher could say anything, Julia willingly asked to sit in the back. Teacher, I'm tall, so I'll sit at the back to avoid blocking anyone's view during class. The homeroom teacher happily agreed. There were 2 empty seats at the back, side by side. Julia chose the one on the right, but only I knew that Julia picked a seat in the back, because Justin would be transferring in next week, and he'd be at the left seat at the back. Since Julia joined my class, I became more withdrawn. I cut my hair even shorter and changed all my clothes, shoes, and stationery to dull colors. I even got a pair of ugly frame glasses. I was already not noticeable, and now I completely blended in. When Justin arrived, the class was buzzing. His designer clothes and sharp looks made it hard for him not to stand out. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Justin sit exactly where I thought he would. From the moment he entered until he sat down, I kept my head down, doing practice problems. The way I looked now, there's no way he'd bother me again in this life. I heard Julia's cheerful voice from the back. Hello Justin, I'm Hedy. I just transferred too. Please take care of me. You said your name is Hedy. I recognized Justin's voice right away, and there was that familiar unfriendly tone. My heart skipped a beat. Justin, you just transferred, so you might not know. There was another Hedy in our class before. Hey, classmate. Julia quickly interrupted. That was my sister's name to honor our late mother. Please don't reopen her wounds. The boy was embarrassed and shut his mouth. I felt 2 pairs of eyes on me but didn't dare look back. Then I heard Justin's low voice from the back. Hedy, nice. After school, Julia cornered me in the bedroom. She pushed me against the wall, scanning me from head to toe. Are you trying to get his attention by looking like this? I warn you, the name Hedy is mine, and so is Justin. Don't try anything funny. Looking like a tomboy, what more could she be worried about? I wish Justin would never notice me again. I'm Nora now, and always will be. Julia, satisfied, let me go. She didn't know what was in store for her. This was Justin's 7th school transfer. He was quite the name in the high school circles. On his first day, the school's bullies cozied up to him, but Justin said he just wanted to study hard. What a joke. He also mentioned he was only interested in little things. Nobody knew what he meant by that, except for me. He liked toying with an inconspicuous little mouse like a cat. The mouse was randomly picked, like me back then. I was the unluckiest, trapped in his games for years. So, this time, I had to ensure I wouldn't be his plaything again. His Hedy, nice, haunted me for days, until I noticed Julia stopped coming home right after school. Then I realized he had targeted her. Lying on my bed, I exhaled deeply, pulling out a textbook. In the past life, I couldn't get the grades I wanted because of the bullying. I've regretted that. This time, I'd make up for past regrets. A peaceful month passed by. Julia became Justin's little follower. She still radiated confidence. I was puzzled, since Justin never spared me for a single day before. He loved to yank out a lock of my hair or clip my nails painfully deep. Though he didn't smoke, he liked lighting one up, then pressing it against my arm. I kept silent through the pain, and he'd only get more excited. He forced me to swallow spent cigarette butts. All his bullying was done in shadows and hidden corners. Nobody could believe someone like him would pick on a weak girl like me. But this time, Justin did nothing to Julia. He even indulged her whims. Julia would brag daily about her and Justin's happenings. But soon, I'd find out his real intention. One evening, Julia brought up Justin at dinner again. Julia, you're still a student. Your main focus should be studying. You can't. My dad didn't finish his sentence before being cut off. Julia looked disgruntled. Dad, I've told you countless times. I'm Hedy now, not Julia. Why do you keep getting it wrong? My dad smiled awkwardly, rubbing his hands under the table. Actually, I knew he somewhat regretted letting me give my name to Julia. In this life, I'd make him see that mother-daughter duo's true colors. But, for now, my stepmother hadn't taken any drastic actions, so I had to bide my time. With a playful scold, my stepmother turned to my dad. Jason, she took your last name, that's trust. Yet you can't even remember her name. Mom, don't blame Dad. I know he's looking out for me, but this Justin, he's the William family's eldest son, set to inherit the family business. Stepmom never objected to Julia mingling with Justin. From early on, she'd groomed Julia to be a socialite, pinning hopes of a grand marriage into wealth on her. Julia had not only beauty, but excelled in other areas too. Sweetheart, I heard that after Justin's dad passed away, he had a huge falling out with his family. Plus, he's got a half-brother. Sure, the old man might have favored Justin, but who knows how things will turn out. Julia, with determination in her eyes, responded, Mom, trust me. Justin will definitely inherit the company. Then, she switched her tone, but he's never had a mom growing up, and now that his dad is gone too, he's fighting with his family. Poor thing. How about we let him move in with us, so he can feel the warmth of a family? Dad, you've got such a kind heart. You wouldn't say no, would you? No way. I'm against it. I quickly cut in before my dad could speak. No joke. Julia thinks she can just bring Justin into our home, like she owns the place. Listen, Jason, Justin's no ordinary guy. And you don't want to remain just some factory manager forever, right? With the William family backing you, your little company could go public in no time. Besides, Justin's the future son-in-law I've got my eye on. You should really think it over. My stepmom's stare could cut through me, but I was firm. Justin wasn't moving in. Dad, you're the head of the family. This is your call. We run a clean household. How can we let some stranger move in? I didn't want to put my dad in a tough spot, but there was no negotiating here. Thinking of past events made me shiver. I couldn't fall into that trap again. What's wrong with you, sis? I'm just helping a classmate in need. Don't you understand compassion? You talk like he's just some stranger when he's our classmate. Plus, Justin's situation is so unfortunate. He's cut off from his family. Not a dime to his name, struggling even for food. We have the means to help him a bit, and it's not like he's gonna stay forever. Next year's college entrance exams, he'll be gone by then, right? My stepmom dropped the ultimatum. Jason, how could you think that of my daughter? She's just being kind and helping out a classmate. You keep saying I'm the lady of the house, but do you even see us as family? Maybe I should just take my daughter and leave. She got up, ready to walk out. I could tell by my dad's expression. Stepmom won again. My dad's too straightforward to outsmart my cunning stepmom. I suppressed my anger. No worries. I'll make sure my dad sees their true selves soon. Justin was set up in the upstairs guest room of our house. He was well behaved, sticking to school and hardly venturing downstairs. My dad remained distant with little interaction, but my stepmom, she treated him like the future son-in-law, doting on his every need. Justin became this bewildered yet arrogant guy, totally different from school. He and Julia were always together, with my stepmom driving them all over. Meanwhile, I stuck with my routine, riding my electric bike to and from school. Justin hadn't spoken a word to me, as if I didn't exist to him. Even though he was living under my family's roof, we never bumped into each other. I finally relaxed, realizing he had zero interest in me this time around. Soon, winter break rolled in. My stepmom and Julia went home to pay respects to their ancestors. My dad, now officially married to her, went along. I suggested Justin return to his apartment for the break. For once, the whole family agreed, but Justin objected. Uncle, Aunt, don't worry. I'll just be upstairs reading. Aunt, you can just bring meals to me. I promise I won't bother Nora. Justin always maintained that innocent facade at my place. With the housekeeper still around, my dad didn't argue further. They left, but I couldn't shake the unease. I locked myself in my room, only venturing out for meals. But something happened the day after my dad left. Early in the morning, after preparing breakfast, our housekeeper took off her apron and was about to leave. Nora, there's a family issue I must attend to at home. Your dad already knows. Just a day. I promise I'll be back by dinner tomorrow. She hurried out before I could say anything, leaving me with an uneasy feeling. I glanced upstairs. All was quiet. Maybe I was overthinking. With the housekeeper gone, my dad said to order takeout, reminding me to get something for Justin too. But I didn't want any interaction with him. I wasn't hungry anyway, and we had enough snacks at home. So, I just skipped meals. Everything remained still from upstairs all day. As night came, I closed my books and headed to the kitchen for some hot water before bed. I tiptoed, not even putting on slippers, and didn't turn on the lights. As I reached the water tap, suddenly, click, the lights came on. Justin was leaning against the wall, watching me with amusement. My cup fell, shattering on the floor. Heady. I shook uncontrollably, grabbing a kitchen knife. Justin, I'm warning you, don't try anything. His grin widened as he moved closer. Aren't you the one who shouldn't try anything? With a knife in your hand, planning to stab my heart. He even used 2 fingers to poke his chest hard. Grinding my teeth, I really did want to stab him right in his heart, but I couldn't. Not now. I'm just curious why you keep avoiding me. Have I ever done something to you? I feel like I know you, somehow. He reached out, lightly tapping the knife in my grip. Enraged, I couldn't stand his mocking look of superiority. Haunting memories rushed back into my mind. Overwhelmed with vengeance, I yelled, "Justin, I'll kill you." I lunged with the knife, ignoring how glass shards bit into my feet. But I overestimated myself. Justin quickly disarmed me. He pinned me tightly, immobilizing me. Why such deep hostility towards me? Did we know each other before? I swear you seem familiar. He took off my glasses, saying, "You know, you're pretty. Why make yourself look so plain? For heard you used to be called Hedy. Why would you give your own name to someone else? Don't you have your own personality?" I chuckled. He's really asking if I have my own personality. In my past life, he tormented me, called me his personal toy. Not worthy of having my own. I mustered all my strength and headbutted him. Justin was caught off guard, and blood streamed from his nose. Ignoring the pain in my foot, I ran back to my room and locked the door. "Hedy, can I call you Hedy? I think that name suits you better." Justin's voice was muffled behind the door. Leaning against it, I took deep breaths, sensing my nightmare creeping back. I won't just sit and wait. I feel like if I could just avoid him, I could escape the horrors of the past. But now, that dark demon has latched onto me again. I have to do something. Bad people should taste their own medicine. Only then can the cycle of evil be broken. What's scarier is that I just noticed Justin brushing his nose while thinking. He didn't have this habit initially. It started in my first year of work when I had a cat. Once, the cat got sick, and I took it to the vet instead of meeting Justin on time. In his anger, he killed my cat. I was devastated for a long time, wanting to die to escape Justin's control. He would imitate the cat to cheer me up, even mimicking the way it rubbed its nose with its paw. That habit stuck, but just now, he did it unconsciously. I suspect he might have been reborn too, but he looks like he doesn't recognize me. Either way, I've decided to stop running away. If I want revenge, I have to take the first step bravely. I made dumplings for Justin. I prepared the rice dough and filling myself. Justin used to love when I made these by hand. Only this time, I added a little something extra. I brought him the first bowl. He gave me a playful look, but still accepted it and ate. This taste is special, yet familiar. Oh really? How familiar? He switched to a serious look, one he seldom had before. Hedy, for some reason, I feel like I should remember you. I remember everyone else clearly, except you. All I have are these familiar feelings. Really a pity. I narrowed my eyes, wondering, does he really remember everyone else? So he's not the same Justin as before. Hedy, I don't mean you any harm. Why are you avoiding me? Did I hurt you in the past? Are you like me? Also, I hung my head, knowing the information I needed. I don't understand what you're talking about. I just don't like men. Pure dislike, except for my dad. Justin was at a loss for words, finishing the bowl of dumplings. Soon, he lay gasping on the floor. Are there peanuts in here? I feigned panic. I know he's allergic to peanuts, so I didn't dare to add too much, fearing he'd taste it. Fortunately, he loves sweets, and I added a lot of sugar, masking the peanut taste. But that small amount wasn't enough to kill him. He recovered rather quickly too. Justin, I'm sorry. I didn't know you couldn't eat peanuts. With tears in my eyes, Justin seemed flustered. I offered him a second bowl of dumplings. This one doesn't have peanuts. Try it. It's very sweet. Under my watchful eye, Justin ate the entire second bowl I made. This time, he ended up in the hospital. He went to a private hospital owned by the William family group. Afterward, Justin was brought back to my house by Julia. Hedy, you really are something. I used to be curious why you had such hostility towards me. Now I don't want to know anymore. A bigger smile crept onto his lips. Hedy, now I want to experience it firsthand. You can't escape anymore. I shook with anger. Tears welled up in my eyes. Justin was even more amused, reaching out with a bony hand to brush back a stray hair from my forehead. I lowered my head, not dodging. Julia saw it when she came over. She shooed Justin away and shot a harsh glare my way. I knew she was going to make a move against me. That's what I was waiting for. Otherwise, how could she have seen that scene with Justin? Justin didn't tell Julia the real reason he ended up in the hospital. I know his character. He doesn't want anyone to know. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to his family's hospital while still at odds with them. This nasty trick was something my stepmother used on me in my past life. I learned, and I'll make use of it again. Soon, I'll turn it back on my stepmother. Julia watched Justin closely, yet he always found ways to come find me. The more I ignored him, the more persistent he became. He would silently stand outside my room at night. Even through the door, I could feel his presence. After all, I know him too well, his methods too. Only, the second time he tried coming down, he made quite a racket. Justin tumbled down the stairs. Unfortunately, he didn't break an arm or leg, just got some scrapes. But that was enough for Julia to worry. Why is there oil on the stairs? Julia dipped her fingers in and smelled it. This isn't cooking oil, sis. It's your blue gold oil. Exactly. My blue gold oil, and it's quite pricey. I used 5 whole bottles, and I felt a bit heartache. Sis, why would you harm Justin? Are you jealous of me? So you want to ruin him? I also touched a little of the untouched blue gold oil onto my hand, massaging it in. Normally, I wouldn't use this much on my face. Sis, listen to what you're saying. I just accidentally spilled a tiny bit. Who knew Justin would come down in the middle of the night and slip? Sis, what were you doing on the stairs? Were you going upstairs? Julia had warned me long ago not to go near Justin. Upstairs was off limits for me. Sis, did you forget? This is my home. I can go wherever I want. 5 you. Julia was fuming, looking back at her stepmom. Don't bother looking at your mom. My dad owns this house now, and I'm the future owner. Do you really think I should cater to outsiders under my own roof? Stepmom looked furious, and my dad quickly tried to calm things down. The night's drama ended, but everyone looked at me differently, including my dad. But soon, he'll understand my motive. Trying to ease the family tension, my stepmom cooked up a feast one weekend. She said it was to help us kids prepare for college entrance exams. She even made dumplings by hand. I walked up to her, Ms. Sarah, don't forget the filling. Nora, Ms. Sarah is great with dumplings. There's no way she'd forget the filling. I held out my palm. I mean this. Where did you find those? In my hand were bits of thin metal blades. In my past life, stepmom mixed them in the dumplings, causing me to end up in the hospital with a stomach bleed right before exams. This time, I had planned to use them again. Previously, Justin ended up in the hospital after eating my second bowl with the blades. I put up a fierce fight, making him back off quite a bit. My stepmom realized her slip-up, but didn't hide it anymore. Are you and Julia both reborn? No wonder Julia said you were smarter this time around. Stepmom was crafty, and this time the dumplings were clean. But I still landed in the hospital after eating them. Lying in a hospital bed, I looked pale. I cried to my dad, Dad, can't you see how selfish Ms. Sarah is? You treat her daughter like your own, but look how she treats yours. Dad, I miss Mom. I cried loudly, honestly longing for my mom. Dad, do you still not believe what Sarah and Julia have done to me? Look at this. I shelled out some cash for someone to edit a believable video of the talk between my stepmom and me. My dad was furious but also embarrassed after watching it. Dad, Ms. Sarah doesn't truly care about you. She's only looking for a wealthy lifestyle, and you were just the best stepping stone at the time. Now that Julia's got Justin, Sarah's heart isn't with you anymore. I was telling the truth. Stepmom had someone else on the side, richer than my dad, but hadn't divorced yet. She planned to reveal everything the day that man got divorced. I gave my dad some leads, and he would verify them himself. He's a straightforward guy, but also a man. What man could tolerate betrayal from their partner, especially now that I was hospitalized? Stepmom denied harming me, swearing to my dad I did it myself by putting the blades in the dumplings. I had never seen my dad so disappointed before. I knew this time I'd won, though the cost was high for both sides. But in my dad's mind, stepmom wasn't the kind-hearted woman anymore. I wasn't planning to let her off easily. I aimed to deliver evidence of her affair with the wealthy old man to his wife. I'll help you with that. Justin appeared behind me out of nowhere. I instinctively hid the evidence. Do you really have to do that? That man's wife is notoriously tough, and she'll see you as a rival too. Trust me, it'll go smoother if I handle it. Justin, you're not usually this kind. What's your catch? Justin squinted. Hedy, you do seem to know me. I know what you're up to, but please, don't go after Julia. Hedy, leave Julia to me. Does he have a vendetta against Julia? My target was my stepmom for now, then him. I wasn't in a rush to get Julia. I wanted to see what he had in store for her. Soon enough, stepmom's infamy spread in their circles. Everyone knew she failed to snag an old man, and even got beat up by his wife, causing a miscarriage. She hid at home, begging my dad for forgiveness. She played the pregnant mom card, claiming the baby was my dad's. The baby's paternity couldn't be tested since she lost it. But with my prodding, my dad didn't forgive her. He said they'd leave after Julia's exams once she recovered. Stepmom's reputation was wrecked. Finding another rich suitor was tough. Her hopes now rested on Julia. In the past life, everyone thought I snagged Justin with innocence, but that was just a trap he set for me, keeping me locked in. This time, stepmom wanted Julia to bind Justin with innocence. Of course, I'd play along. Stepmom prepared some special drinks for Justin and Julia. I spiked them a bit more with what I snagged from her little box. I secretly hid a phone in Julia's room with the camera on. I didn't dare watch live. It was too much. Deep into the night, their commotion was deafening, and I blushed as I covered my ears. My dad was conveniently taken out by my stepmom. I locked my door tight, waiting for things to end. But as the noises continued, someone knocked on my door. Who could it be? Did my dad come back? He would have barged into Julia's room if he was home. Standing at the door, I heard a familiar voice. "Hedy, it's me." It was Justin. So if Justin was outside my door, who was with Julia? Turned out we had all been played by Justin. I checked my phone, and the video feed was crystal clear. Two bodies were entangled, inseparable. And the man with the beer belly was definitely not Justin. 6 Hedy, keep today's events a secret for me. In exchange, I promise to do one thing for you. You have my word. Perfect. This deal just spiced up my plans for revenge. It's time to settle the score with him for all the things from my past life. I agreed to Justin's terms. In the past, Julia tried to trap me with some dirty tricks, but she didn't succeed. Still, it left a shadow in my heart. But in this life, she finally faced the consequences, and I had a role in it. When my stepmother came back and saw the chaos, she was even happier than Julia. Her eyes softened when she looked at Justin, and she immediately suggested he and Julia should get engaged. Then they moved back into the William family mansion. She promised to help Justin reclaim the family's power. But surprisingly, Justin turned against them right then, mocking Julia for being shameless. He also declared that the William family would never allow a woman like Julia in. My stepmother then approached the William patriarch on his birthday, demanding a marriage. But Justin refused to acknowledge any engagement, and the William family was all set for a show. Just then, Justin pulled out video evidence from that day, leaving my stepmother and Julia dumbfounded. Even more stunned was the burly man in attendance. Julia truly wanted to marry into a wealthy family, but her feelings for Justin were also real. She was so shocked that she rushed out, slipped at the most opportune moment, and landed on the high-priced cobalt blue oil, tumbling down the platform. She didn't die from the fall, but her face hit the ground sprinkler, piercing right through it. Julia was disfigured. She couldn't handle the blow and went mad. With such a dirty scandal happening at my home, my father naturally wouldn't allow my stepmother to stay. I secretly tipped off the fierce woman who had dealt with her before, saying my stepmother was homeless and preying on rich old men again. Without my father's protection, the fierce woman gave her another harsh beating. My stepmother had relied on men all those years. Now, without anyone to lean on, and with Julia's treatment bills to pay, she ended up back in the red light district doing what she knew best. But at her age, all she matched with were greasy old men. Those guys had some cash but were super stingy. To squeeze more money out of them, she'd have to pay a higher price. Justin moved back to his apartment too. Before leaving, he came to me and asked, "Hedy, how many secrets do you have that I don't know about?" "My only secret is that I've lived once before. It's like having a cheat sheet for revenge." "Hedy, how did you know the man in Julia's room was my uncle? How did you predict my next move and tell my uncle beforehand so he'd be prepared for me? Do you hate me so much that you want to destroy everything I have in the past life?" Justin capitalized on his uncle's lecherous behavior, setting him up and getting him kicked out of the William family. But I didn't expect him to drag Julia into it this time. I have reasons for hating Justin, but why was he so against Julia? Did something happen in the past life that I didn't know? Justin didn't defeat his uncle this time, but he didn't seem to care much. "Justin, you still owe me a promise." I planned to use Justin one more time to deliver a fatal blow to Julia. I haven't avenged the fact she caused my death in the past life yet. In the hospital room, Julia's condition had improved a lot. When she saw Justin behind me, her hateful look turned to sheer pitifulness. "Justin, I truly love you. That night I thought it was you. I didn't know it would turn out to be your uncle." I whispered in Julia's ear, "Julia, even if you change your name to Hedy, you'll never get Justin. Now, he's mine." "Julia, so what if you're reborn?" "So am I. This time, I'll make sure you all pay including Justin. I'll make his life a living hell, and you can only watch helplessly." Julia went wild and started choking me. Justin stepped forward and kicked her away. "Hedy, are you alright? Justin's concern sent Julia into another frenzy. Justin, I am the real Hedy. She's Nora. She's reborn too. After she ruined me, she's gonna ruin you. Justin, believe me, I loved you in our last life, and I love you now. You have to trust me. The doctor entered just in time to hear Julia's words. I saw him shake his head with exasperation. I had already paid a large advance for Julia's hospital fees. Although she was close to being discharged, she'd have to stay until all that money was used up, and I'd make sure to keep topping it up regularly. As we left the hospital, Justin grabbed my arm and looked at me seriously. Hedy, I knew you had secrets too. Turns out, Justin was reborn with some of his memories intact. In his past life, his biological mother was confronted by a mistress his father had been supporting, who came with her child. At that time, Justin was studying abroad. The mistress's kid, who was younger, secretly swapped out his mother's life-saving medicine, leading to her death. That kid never faced any consequences. In this life, Justin found out who the kid was and deliberately transferred to her class once she became an adult. The person he wanted revenge on was Julia. Hedy, we knew each other before, right? If I ever hurt you, I'm sorry. He definitely owed me an apology, but not just to me. It was to all the classmates he'd bullied. Hedy, why can't I seem to remember you? Stop avoiding me and give me a chance to get to know you again, alright? I suddenly realized things were getting more interesting. Ruining Justin's life wouldn't be enough to compensate for the hurt I'd suffered back then. I wanted him to feel even deeper pain. I laughed softly, smiling at him for the first time. Justin, how about you marry me? The end.